Welcome to Private Capital Insiders, a podcast brought to you by Private Capital Global, a Spark Group company. Today, we're joined by Siva Balakrishnan, CEO of VServe eBusiness Solutions, an entrepreneur and growth leader with more than 2 decades of experience at the intersection of technology, operations, and private equity value creation. Under his leadership, VServe has grown into a 700 plus person global team with delivery centers in India and the Philippines, helping US and European portfolio companies streamline supply chain, finance, and e-commerce operations. In this episode, we're going to unpack how operating partners and management teams can use scalability, flexibility, and global talent strategies to unlock cost savings, create operational resilience, and drive sustainable growth across the portfolio. So with that, let's jump in and explore how Siva and VServe are helping sponsors and management teams turn operations into a true value creation lever. Because smart private capital moves start with insightful conversation. Hi, Siva. Thanks very much for joining us on the podcast today. Would love to hear a little bit more about your background and really what ultimately led you to take on the role of CEO at VServe eBusiness Solutions.
Sure. Thanks for having me here, Frank. It's a pleasure meeting you, and of course, following upon our conversation in Chicago. Looking forward to discussing, some of the issues around outsourcing. So, I've been in outsourcing technology services for the last 20 years. I was right after my MBA. I kind of jumped into this world, and I've been here ever since. The business that I started, VServe, has evolved into a technology-focused e-commerce and supply chain services support organization. We primarily today work with mid-market customers, retailers, and distributors in the U.S. I'm going to say about 100 to 500 million dollars. Most of them are PE backed, and what we do is to really bring in a level of automation and back office support that really helps them be successful in their business. So that's kind of how things have evolved for us,
Yeah,
and we've been growing about 25% every year. So yeah, here we are.
that's really significant. So tell me a little bit more about the trend you see in private equity and actually utilizing outsourcing and offshoring.
Yeah. I mean, it always used to be kind of a little bit of a challenge to me when I saw these very large companies like the Amexes of the world, the GEs of the world, really embrace outsourcing, and then you have these literally hundreds of thousands of companies hundreds of thousands of resources offshore for these companies, extremely successful. They're able to leverage them across the various geographies. And what always used to surprise me was, hey, the mid market and even the SME businesses are not really able to take advantage of this, right? So, like you pointed out, the outsourcing is always a zero or one, right? So it's either the companies are extremely happy with the engagement, they're loving it, and they want to do more, or they just hate it, and every manager in the company says, oh, this is not going to work for us. So it was very binary, and it surprised me. And what I really understood was, hey, there are 100 ways to kind of break the way it needs to be done, and there's probably like one way, a good way to do it, which is kind of build on a solid foundation of systems and processes that you have in place. Make sure we have the right people to kind of understand those systems and processes, and bring it over to the vendor side, and then execute on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis to success. So I mean, easier said than done, but there is a process to it, and what we did over the last 15-20 years have really perfected it, right? So and then we saw that around that same time that private equity typically, when they make those mid-market purchases, we're looking to grow EBITDA, right? So that's kind of where the success comes from, where they're able to kind of increase value. And then, of course, financial engineering in the private equity world seems to, seemed to work for a little bit, but now I think they've really realized that making the companies better by themselves, and then doing the financial engineering kind of really has a multiplier effect. So more and more private equity players wanted to, participate in the operational improvement movement, and then we had the operations team and the value creation teams kick in. So then when we met them, we were a great match because we figured out outsourcing over our 10-15 year experience. We had a playbook that works very well, and then the private equity focus on value creation kind of met that, and we've had a solid understanding of what success means and how we can grow that. So that's kind of been our journey, kind of understanding private equity and working with them.
Yeah, interesting. Well, as we talked about before, I come from a technology background, so I can relate to a lot of these things you're saying. So, one thing comes to mind, I'd like to kind of table it here to see how you and your company would address it. Communication. That's always uh, probably one of the top one, two, or three things that comes up is, are we going to be able to communicate with the offshore team? Are the requirements going to be translated? How do you address that?
Sure, a great point, and I totally agree that that's key. So a couple of things. So one is what, like I said, n- we've not seen any company successfully outsource chaos, right? So it has to be a process. It has to be captured. They need to understand what success looks like, and so we communicate that upfront. We say, hey, if you want us to be successful, if you want both of us to be successful, you need to define what success looks like, and we work closely with the company to figure out and define that very clearly. So that's number one. Number two, every engagement in our teams have a dedicated program manager. We almost kind of over-index on this and over-invest on this. So many times they're US based. Many times they're sitting right in the customer's office or very close to the customer. And this person's really the voice of the customer inside of VServe. So his or her job is to really make sure that the engagement is successful on a daily basis. And we've understood, to outsource successfully, it has to be done right every single day, every single week. So that person's role is that. So they work closely with the customer. They understand the needs, and their job really depends on the customer being happy. So those are a couple of things that we have done really, which changes the paradigm in terms of communication. And then the third thing is we really sign up for what success looks like, and our teams are laser focused on that. So again, we have the reviews. So we have our weekly, monthly reviews, but the quarterly reviews where the exec team is also involved. We closely monitor, more so than our customers, the KPIs that we signed up for, because what we realized is as long as the KPIs are delivered every day, the customer will be successful. So again, some of those things we've learned over a period of time to tweak to make sure customers see success. Yes.
So our listener community could be wide and varied. We could have operating partners on the line here, GPs, investors. It's a wide range. There are those that are going to be listening. They're going to be like, yeah, yeah, I've heard this all before, right? And then there are going to be those who are brand new to it. So since we're talking about specifically the private equity sector and this part of the market that you address, can you give an example of a situation, something that somebody listening to this podcast can listen to and relate to that that would help differentiate not only your company or maybe the approach to doing something offshore like this?
Sure. So great question. So we work with a number of companies in a private equity portfolio. We have experience working with, I'm going to say, more than 10, for whom we were the first company that they ever outsourced to. So as you can imagine, the starting point is fear, right? So a PE typically gets involved. He's asking a portfolio company to say, hey, hey, look at VServe. I've had a lot of success with them in the other portfolio companies. Why don't you go talk to them, right? So that's kind of the first engagement. And what we realized is at that point, every every portfolio company is unique, and we approach them as individual customers. So it's not like, hey, the boss told us, so we're going to come in and do what we want. It's an individual sale by itself. So we work closely with the C-suite. We go in, visit them, understand what they're looking for, understand what success looks like for them, and really sell our process to them. So that's what we have learned really, really works. So it can be like coming from the top, somebody's tossing it on us, and it's never going to work. So then, we go to the middle management, we work closely with them and really engage them to a point where they feel understood about what they're looking to do. So going back to the point, so the first kind of reaction in middle management is fear, right? So hey, am I going to lose my job? Is my team going to be cut off? Is there going to be disruption that nobody wants? So which is a genuine thing. So what we are very clear about is when we go in, we do two things. One is understand where the gaps are in terms of resources, and we are there to support them by augmenting their teams with the right resources. Sometimes the technology folks, sometimes data analytics folks, sometimes just subject matter experts. You can get enough of them at the right price, at the right place in the US, and we are there really augmenting the teams and saying, hey, here are your pain points. Here are the areas where you're not able to deliver to your customers because of these gaps, and we are here to kind of really provide you support. And then the second area is, hey, let's look at the non-value added stuff that your teams do every day, right? So if there's a bunch of things that your let's say business analyst is doing, which is really not value add, he's not kind of doing the analysis on the data and getting those insights. Instead of that, he's just working on the spreadsheets and the tables and massaging the data. That's something that we can take care of. We can give you great data, so you can spend the time deriving the insights and taking action on those. So again, so two things. So one is areas where they're not able to find the right resources, and number two, areas which are not really value add, which is repetitive. So we go in and pull out all these, and then we go to the middle management and say, hey, here are the areas where we want to work with your teams. We are augmenting your team so that together we can be exponentially more powerful in giving results than you as you are today. And that message really resonates with them, and that's kind of how it usually pans out, where we really become the force multiplier. We're all about providing the scalability, providing the flexibility, and along the way also save costs. So it's really a win-win proposition, both for the stakeholders in terms of middle management, in terms of the C-suite in the company, for the operating partner. So that would be like a typical kind of path to success, while we engage with these companies, Frank.
Gotcha. In terms of technologies that you're working with, are there some you're working with more than others? I'm sure that there's a wide range of technologies from ERP type systems and maybe even incorporating AI. Can you speak to the audience about what you're seeing in the way of technologies that are being implemented that are adding value?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of partnerships, we have several great partnerships. So we are big commerce partners, we are Shopify partners, we are Walmart marketplace partners. So that's all kind of the partnerships from an e-commerce
Hmm.
execution perspective, which kind of gives us two things. One is the access to this customer base where customers might be looking for execution. So they usually come to us. And then also the expertise in these areas. We have experts trained and certified by these companies. So that's kind of one angle to this. And then the other angle is the whole AI movement. And there's a strong realization that AI is coming. And the way we see it is, hey, AI is going to be front and center for some of the new development that's going to come about. And we have also kind of made sure we embrace it. So we think of ourselves as a technology first partner. And what we mean by that is we're very clear and upfront with our customers saying, hey, if there's an opportunity to automate, let's do that first, then, bring in our resources. So we understand, there might be a benefit for us to have more resources than less, but we always kind of going the other way around saying, hey, we'll bring in the expertise to automate first. And if that's not possible or the level of automation is limited, then we bring resources, support you to execute it. So our customers really like us for that. We just invested in an AI company where we bring in the team. We're able to kind of automate some of the tools, and also enhance the level of automation in several of the use cases we have. So the human in the loop, the level of involvement of a human in loop kind of has really reduced over a period of time. It's still not zero, and kind of the value add keeps increasing every cycle we do that automation. But we're very clear that we're going to embrace it. We're going to go automation first, and that clearly also delivers superior value to our customers. Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense here. Are you dealing with more process modernization, or are you starting from scratch? Like in terms of the percentage of jobs that you're working with, are you coming in with a clean slate, making recommendations, or are you coming in and kind of taking them from where they are now to a better place?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we totally understand a customer when they say, "Hey, we want EBITDA improvement, we want margin expansion, but we don't want to spend like hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars in brand new tools and then and the latest greatest widgets which get sold all the time." So we're very pragmatic about it. We say, "Hey, let's go understand what the technology stack is, and we bring in the resources to embrace that technology stack first." So it's not like we go in and give them a laundry list of, "Hey, here are the $500,000 investments that you have to make this work." Our goal is, hey, how we go in and be a great partner who reduces friction. Right. So that's number one. So we go in, we understand the tools, we understand the processes, we bring in resources where required, we bring in improvements from a technology perspective where required. And then we start making, improvements in a very incremental way. So the investments that the teams are making are a lot smaller. It's a combination of incremental improvement versus technology upgrades along the way, rather than go in and require a full reset or a fresh start. So we're very collaborative that way. We're very cognizant of the need to kind of show margin improvements, expansion on an ongoing basis, not make them invest a lot of money, and that's really worked for us. So reduce friction is our number one goal. Improve margins, and then make those investments based off the savings along the way.
Makes sense. So when I think about attrition and back end challenges with private equity companies and the portfolio companies themselves, a lot of the portfolio companies are dealing with high turnover and efficiencies in the back end operations. How can outsourcing partners help fix those pain points and bring more stability or consistency to the business?
Yeah, I mean it's that's a real pain, especially in mid market companies. They oftentimes have don't have the right people in the right seats, don't have the budgets for them, not able to find them. So we operate in both India and the Philippines, so we have access to probably some of the smartest people. The other side of the world. Between these two countries. So number one, we're able to kind of bring in the right people at the right price for these roles that companies often have a tough time, you know, uh, filling in. Number two, we also have understood what the sweet spot is as far as areas where we can play and really add value. So for example, e-commerce. So we're all about setting the e-commerce product page. We help, we build tools that automate the setting up. We can handle hundreds of thousands of products and the specifications and the constantly changing requirement from an AI perspective or SEO perspective, from a user experience perspective. So we kind of have tools and people who can really take care of that. That's very manual, at the same time very operations and intensive work. And then also as an offshoot, we're able to really run the supply chain of the retailer end to end. So it could be right from lead to cash, and on the customer side, all the steps through generating the lead, yeah, creating the sale, following through and making sure we're delivering, and then collecting the cash, and then on the vendor side, right from source to pay, where we're helping with the sourcing of the right products, getting it over to the customer, and also and also getting the vendor paid. So it's really end to end on the supply chain side. So we see, we're able to add tremendous value, take off some of the grunt work from the onshore teams, and then kind of improve margins along the way. So overall, the customer feels that it's a win-win partnership.
Okay. Do you offer some sort of evaluation coming in the door? I'm thinking of the potential, conflict in terms of philosophies where maybe on the fund side of things, they might be pushing the technology leadership to do more outsourcing to try to save costs, but maybe that technology leadership is a little resistant, or it wasn't on their radar necessarily. How do you address that? Are you dealing with the GPs? Is there an educational process? Are you talking about scaling smarter, reducing back end complexity, boosting operational performance? Well, on the fund side, how do you approach it? Because again, we've got a pretty broad audience here.
Sure. So we strongly believe in crawl, walk, run, right? So we over index to it. So our goal is to prove value every step of the way. So every engagement, we are super flexible. There have been engagements with private equity where we've gone into a portfolio company, and like I said, we consider every company as an individual sale on its own, even if it's an operating partner bringing us in. So we're very happy to kind of start really, really small. We go in, understand their supply chain flow, really pick out their biggest pain point. The biggest pain point could be something as simple as, hey, we don't even touch, collectibles less than $2,000, right? So they might have like a couple of $1 million just collectibles that nobody's touching, and we've gone into those customers. There are a couple of them that I can think of right away where we've kind of cleaned it up. We were just doing follow up, just make sure we were able to do it, and then the company made $2 million by investing a few $1,000 on us. So that was like a great proof of success for us. So we went in, prove that. And today, there's one company where we started just with the AR process, and I'm going to say we have about $500,000 of business every year from them, repeat business. So just a classic example of understanding what their largest pain point is, even if it's at the smallest one, tackling it for them, showing them success, and then building on that, and then they'll start seeing all the other parts, all the other dimensions of the relationship. It could be providing scalability, it could be providing cost savings, it could be providing the right resources to flex depending on seasonality. So, for example, there's one customer who really leans on us during the holiday season because their volumes go up 5x during the holiday season. So they really need that support during the holiday season to make sure they're delivering, and we're able to step in, deliver that, and then go back to the original scale. Once that's over. So there's several dimensions to that partnership that we're able to add value, but we're always more than happy to start off with that one point and prove success and grow from there.
So our folks are probably, watching this and are still with us because they're considering outsourcing or they've
Mhm.
heard about it. Like, what would you like to leave the listeners with in terms of either things to look out for, how to approach this, how to think about it? Is there anything you'd like them to walk away from this podcast with in terms of a golden nugget, if you will, or bits of wisdom?
Yeah, maybe a couple of points that I might have touched on already. So number one is have a well-defined process and have a clear idea of what success looks like, and I think that really goes a long way to make the engagement successful. And number two is address the fear and the concerns of the teams before we do anything like that. Just make it very clear to them. Show use cases of success, of how outsourcing is really an additive, and it's not like something that where you go in and disrupt the team. It's a force multiplier. It really helps with making them more successful, and if we can establish those two concepts in the team, I've seen almost all of those engagements be successful. We have a very high success rate when we engage, just because we've been through these cycles. So we've seen horror stories of how outsourcing went bad, but I'm happy to say that 98% of our customers have continued to be recurring revenue customers for us. So I believe that's
Great.
a pretty strong number.
Well, it makes a big difference when you're working with an organization that understands the sector, understands private equity, and I think that makes a big difference. It makes a big difference when we're hiring executives for private equity as well. There has to be some understanding of how things work, and expectations need to be managed. Very interesting. This has been great, Shiva. If you'd like to tell folks how to get a hold of you, I'll give them a little information in the comments as well. But please feel free to share
Sure.
how to best reach you.
Sure. The easiest way to reach me is LinkedIn, Siva Balakrishnan. I'm on LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out. My DMs are open, so I'm happy to respond and love to have a conversation with any of you who might be interested.
Great. Thanks. Well, it was good to see you in Chicago. Good to spend some time with you here. And here in 2026, I'm sure we'll meet up again a couple of times.
Sure. Thanks for your time, Frank. Appreciate it.
Well, that's a wrap on today's episode with Shiva Balakrishnan, CEO of VServe eBusiness Solutions, in a deep dive into how global talent, outsourced operations, and modern workflows can transform the way private equity backed companies operate and scale. If this conversation sparked ideas about your own portfolio, operating model, or global talent strategy, connect with Shiva and the VServe team to continue the dialogue and explore what a purpose built operating partnership could look like for your company. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. You can also follow Private Capital Global for more updates, episodes, exclusive content for private equity operators and investors. And remember, smart private capital moves start with insightful conversation. I'm Frank Scarpelli. Make it a great day.